Hello friends, welcome to automationtalks.com. This is part 2 of this data driven framework video and Selenium tutorial. So in my last tutorial of this part 1 of this data driven framework, I have covered what is data driven testing, why data driven testing, then folder structure, and then we have just started with creating framework, right? So we have created page objects for this home page. Now I wanted to create page objects for this login page. Now from this login page, what I want email field XPath, then I want password field XPath, and I want login button XPath. I want these three XPath. So I'll tag this as a string. Right, so this is demowebshop.com, and I want email XPath of this email, so I'll just take XPath of this email. So you can take other parameters as well, like ID or CSS or the one which you find better. Fine. Now I have XPath for all three. Now I want to create page objects, so I'll do it public web element, then email field object. I'll pass driver, right? And what I should return driver dot find element. I should return a web element which I'll find by using driver dot find element XPath and email field XPath. So this is how I can get page object for this email field. In the similar way, I'll get it for password and for login button. So for password, and for login button. Alright, so now I have identified page objects for this home page and this login page. Right, so this is how you can identify page objects from all pages for all objects which you are going to interact with. For me, I am just going to interact with this login link from home page, and from login link this email, password and login button for my data driven test case. Now we are done with this page objects. I'll collapse this. Now properties file, we have already done with properties file. We have added URL and browser. We are done with the test data in this test data file. Now next is we are remaining with two things. First one is your actual test case and utilities. Now actual framework starts. This was the structure of the framework what we have created till now. Now the actual framework start. Now in this login test, I'll be writing my actual test. So just me create one draft, public void login test case. So this test case I am going to actual test case. Fine. And for the test case I should use @test annotation. So this is test-ng annotation, so I should use @test annotation. To learn more about test-ng, you can go to my blog and go to test-ng framework tutorial, and you can find all the test-ng tutorials over here. So just remember, for test you should have @test annotation. Now to this test case, since it is a data driven test case, you should supply a data. You should supply a data, and this data will be supplied by using another method. Let me call it as a test data supply, test data supply, and I should supply test data from here, and the test data will be supplied by using annotation data provider, which is again a test ng annotation. So this is test ng annotation data provider, and I will name it as a name is equal to something name, login data. This is the data provider, and name of the data provider is login data. So what this means is, from this method I am supplying the data to particular test, right? And this data provider, now I will identify, okay, for this particular test case I will supply data from this. So I need to use a data provider over here. Data provider is equal to name, right? So this is how we define a data provider, by using data provider name is equal to some name, and we use this data provided by this method into @test case by using data provider is equal to the data provider name which you have specified, right? So your actual test case should be here, and your data provider code should be here, right? So if you are aware, your data provider always return an array of objects which will be 2D, right? So so its return type should be object array, right? And it should return something, right? We will talk about this later on. So this is the basic structure of my test case. It will have a test case and a data provider, and the name of the data provider will be used from this to this, right? So this is a basic structure. Now couple of things I need to create. First one is your base test. I will talk about this later on. Next one is read properties file. Now look, we have created a properties file over here for this URL and browser, right? So I need to use this data from this properties file into my test case, right? So for that purpose I should read this properties file first, right? So for reading the properties file I am creating a separate class read properties file, and I'll create a method here to read public. It will return a string, suppose public string read prop file by key. So I'll give name as read prop file by key, and it should return something, right? Return something. Now let us code this. First thing what I want is, I want file path where my properties file is located. So my properties file is located over here. I can get a path to this properties file by using this. So this is path to my properties file. You can get this path by using system.getProperty, so that is another way. So I'm just, for short, I'm using this. You should use /. Fine. So this is my string file path, and for dealing with the properties I have a method called as properties and I should create its object, so I'll give it as a prop is equal to new properties. Right, so whenever you want to deal with properties file, you should use this. Now first thing is what you should read a file. Select, there are three things. First thing is read file from location, then load file, and then again read loaded file. Right, so first we'll create an instance of file is equal to new file and your file path. So instance of file is created by using this import file. Now since it is a file, we should use file input stream, right, because we are using external file. So I should use file input stream. FIS is equal to new file input stream and file. Now I have created stream to my file. This needs try catch. Let us surround it with try catch. Now what we need is we need to load this file. So how to load file? We have created instance of this property, so just use this prop dot load and your file input stream, which is FIS, which we have created over here. Where it is? Here. So this is FIS. Okay, so what I'll do, instead of try catch, I will use exception. I'll throw a declaration. Fine, so this is how we can load the file. Now the file is loaded. Now how to retrieve the data from the loaded file and to return it? So I will return it like prop, because the data is already loaded in prop now. So I will load it by using prop dot get property and by key. So I'll give key as key which I need to pass while reading. So I'll give as a string key and this is a key. I hope you are clear with this what we are doing. I have this properties file path, properties file object. Then what we will do is we will I have created one method which will return a value from this properties file by using a key. So in this properties file, this is the key and this is the value. So whenever I'll supply this key, it should return this value. Whenever I supply this key, it should return this value. Now this is done. Now I am able to read a properties file. Now next thing, okay, my next task is to select a browser. So I'll create a class select browser. Now from this class, from this method, what I'll do is I will select browser based on properties file value. So in properties file I have given browser is equal to Chrome. So here if I specify browser is equal to IE, my test cases should execute in IE. If I specify Firefox, it should execute in Firefox. If I specify Chrome, it should be executed in Chrome. Right. So now I need to select a browser. So how to proceed? First thing is we should read a properties file. So for that let us create an object of properties file. No, instead of creating object of properties file, we are already reading this properties file over here. So I'll create object of this read properties file, and prop is equal to new read properties file. Fine, now I can access the value from the properties file by using this object prop, and again I should use Webdriver driver is equal to null. Now let me create a method, public void uh, get browser, and what I'll do is from get browser I will return a driver, and so to return a driver my return type should be WebDriver. Fine. Now first thing I should get is value of browser. So my browser, how I can get is I can use this prop and read property value by key, and my key should be browser, right? My key should be browser. If I'm giving key as a browser, then in this what is this, in this string browser it should come as a Chrome. Now now we'll do some checks. What we can do is while browser, if nothing is specified in properties file for browser, then what you can do is while browser is equal to null, what you can do is you can log the message by using our logger. So to use the logger, what we should do is we should we should set the logger by using logger log is equal to logger dot get logger and your class name. So my class name is select class. So this is how you can set your logger. Now I can log the message log dot fatal, or I'll give fatal and your message over here. Browser is not specified, quitting the process. Right, and I will exit the process system dot exit. Fine. So if my browser is null, I'll quit the process by logging the message. Now I'll use if else statement, or you can use even switch case statement. If browser dot equal ignore case, if my browser is Firefox, then what should happen is then your driver is equal to new Firefox driver. Else if your browser dot equal ignore case, if it is Chrome, then what should happen is then you should set a property system dot set property. What property is that? WebDriver dot Chrome dot driver, and its value should be set to I think I have it in my C drive. Yes, it is in my C drive, so I'll use this. And then driver is equal to new Chrome driver. I hope you are aware why we are doing this. And similar thing what you can do is if it is for IE, then you can do this for IE. If it is Internet Explorer, then WebDriver dot IE dot driver is equal to new, and the path to IE driver is this. And you can launch it by using Internet Explorer driver. right? So this is how we can select a driver, and once the driver is selected we can log the message, log the informational message, browser selected is Firefox. Then for Chrome, browser selected is Chrome. For IE, browser selected is IE. This message will be logged into a system. Now if nothing is found, like if Firefox, Chrome or IE is not found, then what you can do is else log some message, specify correct browser. So this will be helpful for debugging, and exit the system. Right, so this is how I will select a driver and I'll return the driver by using this select browser method. Right, so this is done, set browser is done. Now next what I want to do is I want to create a base test. Now what will happen in this base test, there are few methods which are common, like open browser, then navigate, then close browser, right? These methods are common, right? So I will write this common method which as a base test, like before running each and every test, it should open a browser, it should navigate to the URL, it should maximize the window, it should wait for it should specify implicit wait, right? So these are common things, and once your test execution is successful, it should close your browser. So these two things I will specify it in base test, right? So the first thing is public void sorry, launch browser, or okay, launch browser, and here I'll specify how to open browser, then navigate to URL. These two things I will specify over here, right? And I'll create another method, close browser, close driver, let us say, and here I will close my browser, that is driver. Browser is nothing but driver. Okay, so what should happen is, this is my test case, right? This is @test is my test case. So before this test case, this particular launch browser should be executed, and after executing test case, this close driver should be executed. So for these two things I'll use two annotation of testng, that is before method, and next one here I'll use after method. Right, so what will happen is, before method should be executed before this particular test case, right, like opening browser, navigating, and after method should be executed after executing that test case, right? So before method I should open a browser and I should navigate. Fine, so how to do that? Okay, so my browser type and URL is present in this properties file. So first thing is I should read a properties file. So let me create object of this properties file, read properties file, prop is equal to new read properties file, right? And I'll create WebDriver, driver is equal to null. Fine. Now to launch the browser, I have created select browser over here, right? So I should create select browser test as well over here. Sorry, object of this class, select browser is equal to select browser. I'll give yes is equal to new select browser, this. So what will happen is, driver is equal to, how I can get a driver? I can get a driver from this select browser class, right? Because I am returning driver from this, right? So how we can get it? Yes dot get browser, right? Because this get browser method is returning WebDriver driver, right? So I can get a get browser. Now I got the driver. Now once I got the driver, what I can do? I can navigate driver dot navigate dot to, and where I should navigate to some URL, and where the URL is present, it is in a properties file. So again I should retrieve this URL. Then how can I get this URL? I can get the URL string URL is equal to, how we can get that? Prop dot read file by using key, and my key is URL, that is this one is my key URL. Right, now I got URL over here, so I'll just pass this URL over here. Now I should be able to navigate to this particular sorry URL. Now once I am navigating to URL, let us put some implicit wait. I'll put implicit wait of 10 seconds. And I will maximize the window. Fine. So this is what I can do in a before method. What I can do is, before executing each test, I should navigate to the URL, I should wait for some time, which is implicit wait, and I should maximize my window. Then only my test execution should start. That is this login test. Now after method, now once the test execution is successful, I should close my browser, and I should close it by using command called as driver dot close and driver dot quit to quit all instances. Fine. So this is base test, in which I have a commonly used method, which I'll invoke in before method and after method. Fine. So what we have done, we have created page objects, properties file, test data, then basic setup for login test, then base test, which will be invoked before method and after method. We are reading value from properties file and setting the browser. Now the last remaining thing as a part of framework is to read the data from Excel file. So I'll create one class called as Excel reader. Fine. So I'll cover this part in my coming video, that is part 3 of this data driven testing for this data driven framework. So I hope you are clear with this part 2, where I have explained you about how to read the properties file, how to create a base test, then how to select a browser, right? So in my next part 3 of this video, in continuation, I'll talk about how to read the Excel file, how to get the data from this test data sheet, and our actual test case how to write our actual test by using data provider and get the data from data provider to write a parameterized test, right? That is a data driven test. Thanks for watching video. Do subscribe to my channel. Thanks.